Hello, everyone. Welcome to Voice of English. This is the place where you can learn English by listening and practicing every day. Each day, we share simple lessons and helpful tips to help you speak English better and with confidence. So get ready to listen, learn, and speak English naturally.
Today, we have a wonderful and very useful session ahead. We're going to talk about advanced English phrases that you can use in your daily life. Yes, you heard that right. Advanced phrases that will make you sound more natural, more fluent, and more like a native speaker when you speak English. Now you might be thinking, Mia, why should I learn advanced phrases? Isn't basic English enough for daily conversations? Well, let me tell you, basic English is good when you're just starting out. But if you want to impress people, build better relationships, and express yourself more clearly, advanced phrases are the way to go. They make your speech richer, more interesting, and more polite. And most importantly, they help you understand native speakers better. Because native English speakers use these kinds of phrases all the time. In casual conversations, at work, and even when they're just chatting with friends. In this video, I'm going to share many advanced phrases with you. We'll learn their meanings, how to use them naturally, and I'll give you examples so you can practice along with me. And remember, don't just listen. Try to repeat the sentences after me. Say them out loud if you can. It's one of the best ways to improve your speaking skills. The more you speak, the better you get. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. Let's start with a very common situation. Imagine you're meeting someone after a long time. Instead of just saying, "Hello, how are you?" you can say, "It's been ages since we last met." This phrase shows surprise and happiness, that you're seeing someone again after a long time. It's friendly and makes the other person feel good. You can also say, "It's been forever," or "I haven't seen you in ages." All of these are natural, casual ways to greet someone you haven't met in a while. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. It's been ages since we last met. Good. Now try this one. I haven't seen you in ages. Perfect. And one more. It's been forever. Excellent. These are simple phrases, but they immediately make your conversation sound more natural and native-like. Another situation you often face is when you agree with someone or support their opinion. In English, instead of just saying, "I agree," you can use advanced phrases like, "I couldn't agree more." This means you agree completely. Or you can say, "You took the words right out of my mouth." This means the other person said exactly what you were thinking. It's a very nice phrase to use in conversations because it shows you're on the same page as the other person. Let's practice these too. Repeat after me. I couldn't agree more. Good. Now say, "You took the words right out of my mouth." Great job. Now imagine you're talking with a friend about your favorite movie, and your friend says, "That movie was amazing." And you also loved it. Instead of just saying, "Yes, I agree," you can say, "I couldn't agree more." See how much more natural and expressive that sounds? Now, let's move on to another very useful set of phrases. Sometimes you want to give advice or suggest something in a polite way. Instead of saying, "You should do this," you can use softer, more advanced phrases. For example, if I were you, I'd. This phrase is very useful when you're giving advice, without sounding too direct. Another one is, you might want to, or have you considered? These are polite ways to suggest something, without forcing your opinion on someone. Let's practice. Repeat after me. If I were you, I'd talk to her about it. Good. Now try. You might want to check that report again. Excellent. And one more. Have you considered taking a short break? Wonderful. These phrases are great because they make your advice sound polite and thoughtful. All right. Now, sometimes you need to express surprise or shock in daily conversations. Of course, you can say, wow. But there are better, more advanced phrases you can use too. For example, you're kidding. This is a common phrase when someone tells you something unbelievable. Another one is, no way. And you can also say, are you serious? These expressions show surprise in a natural, casual way. Let's practice these too. Repeat after me. You're kidding. Good. Now. No way. Great. And one more. Are you serious? Excellent. Now imagine a friend tells you they won the lottery. Instead of just saying, wow, you can say, no way. Are you serious? And it sounds much more natural and expressive. Okay, now let's learn some phrases for when you want to politely refuse something. Sometimes, you might not want to accept an invitation or offer, but you also don't want to sound rude. So instead of saying a simple, no, you can use advanced phrases like, I'd love to, but I'm afraid I can't. Or, I wish I could, but these phrases help you refuse politely without hurting the other person's feelings. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'd love to, but I'm afraid I can't. Good. Now, I wish I could, but I have other plans. Excellent. You can use these when someone invites you to a party, offers you something to eat, or asks you for help when you're not able to. They soften the refusal and keep the conversation friendly. All right, let's also talk about phrases you can use when you want to encourage someone. When your friend is nervous about an interview or exam, you don't just have to say, good luck. You can say, you've got this, or I'm rooting for you. Another nice one is, fingers crossed, which means you're hoping for the best outcome for them. Let's practice these. Repeat after me. You've got this. Good. Now, I'm rooting for you. Excellent. And one more. Fingers crossed. Great job. These phrases sound very natural and native-like, and they really encourage people when they're feeling nervous. Now, sometimes you might need to express disappointment or bad news. It's always good to use polite phrases in these situations, too. For example, you can say, I'm afraid I have some bad news. Or, unfortunately, we couldn't make it happen. These phrases prepare the other person for bad news in a gentle way. You can also say, things didn't go as planned, or it wasn't meant to be. These expressions soften the disappointment and keep the conversation calm and polite. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm afraid I have some bad news. Good. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't make it happen. Excellent. And one more. Things didn't go as planned. Great. These phrases are especially useful in professional situations, but you can use them in personal conversations too. Now, Before we move on, let's do a little exercise. I'll say a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase you would use. Ready? Your friend tells you they've lost their job. What would you say? That's right. I'm afraid I have some bad news. Or, things didn't go as planned, would work here. Now imagine your friend says, I'm so nervous about my driving test tomorrow. What could you say? Yes. You've got this. Or, fingers crossed. Well done. And one more. Someone tells you something unbelievable. What would you say? Exactly. You're kidding. Or no way. Excellent practice. Okay, we'll keep practicing more phrases like this in a moment. Let's keep going. Now, sometimes in daily life, you might want to politely change the topic or avoid answering a personal question. Native English speakers often do this in a very subtle way. Instead of directly saying, I don't want to talk about it, you can use advanced phrases like, let's not go there, or that's a story for another day, or even, anyway, as I was saying. These phrases help you smoothly shift the conversation without sounding rude or uncomfortable. Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. Let's not go there. Good. Now, that's a story for another day. Excellent. And one more. Anyway, as I was saying. Perfect. For example, if someone asks you about a past relationship and you don't feel like talking about it, you can simply smile and say, let's not go there. It sounds natural and polite. All right. Another helpful set of phrases is for showing you understand someone's situation. In daily conversations, it's kind and polite to show sympathy or understanding when someone shares their feelings or problems. Instead of just saying, I understand, you can say, I know how you feel, or I've been there myself, or even, that must be tough. These phrases show empathy and make the other person feel supported. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I know how you feel. Good. Now, I've been there myself. Excellent. And one more. That must be tough. Great work. For example, if a friend tells you they're feeling homesick, you could say, I know how you feel. I've been there myself. This makes the conversation warmer and more personal. Moving on. Sometimes in conversations, you might want to give a reason for something. Instead of always using because, which can sound repetitive, you can use more advanced phrases like, the reason I say that is, or that's due to, or d'ennui. These phrases help you explain things more smoothly and naturally. Let's practice these too. Repeat after me. The reason I say that is, good. Now, that's due to, excellent. And one more. That's why. Perfect. For example, if someone asks why you didn't attend the meeting, you can say, the reason I didn't attend is because I was feeling unwell. Or, that's why I stayed home. Much better than always using a plain because. Now. Another very useful group of phrases is for making small talk. Small talk means light, casual conversations you have when you meet people, like at a party, in an elevator, or while waiting in line. Instead of always asking, how are you? You can use phrases like, what's new with you? Or how's everything going? Or been keeping busy? These are natural ways to start a friendly conversation. Let's practice. Repeat after me. What's new with you? Good. Now, how's everything going? Excellent. And one more. Been keeping busy? Great job. Imagine you meet a colleague you haven't seen in a while. You can casually ask, "Been keeping busy?" And it opens up a nice, friendly chat. Now, let's do another speaking exercise together. I'll give you a situation, and you try to think of the advanced phrase to use. Ready? Your friend tells you they're having a hard time adjusting to their new job. What could you say? That's right. I know how you feel, or that must be tough. Very good. Now, imagine you want to politely change the topic during a conversation. What could you say? Yes. Anyway, as I was saying, or that's a story for another day. Perfect. And one more. You want to start a light conversation with someone while waiting in a queue. What might you say? Exactly. What's new with you? Or been keeping busy? Excellent work. Okay, moving on. Let's learn some polite phrases for making requests. Of course, you can always say, "Can you help me?" But advanced English sounds more polite and friendly. You can say, "Would you mind helping me?" Or "Could you possibly?" Or even, "Would it be too much trouble if—" These phrases sound very gentle and show good manners. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. Would you mind helping me? Good. Now, could you possibly give me a hand? Excellent. And one more. Would it be too much trouble if I borrowed your car? Wonderful. See how polite and kind these phrases sound? You can use them in both formal and informal situations. Now, sometimes you want to agree with someone, but in a calm, polite way, instead of just saying, "Yes," you can say, "I suppose you're right," or "That makes sense," or "I can see where you're coming from." These are natural ways to agree gently, especially when you're having discussions or polite debates. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I suppose you're right. Good. Now, that makes sense. Excellent. And one more. I can see where you're coming from. Great job. Imagine you're discussing weekend plans with a friend, and they suggest staying home because of bad weather. You can say, "I suppose you're right. It's better to stay in." See how natural and considerate it sounds? All right. Next, let's learn some advanced phrases for expressing excitement or happiness. Instead of just saying, "I'm happy," you can say, "I'm over the moon," or "I'm thrilled," or "I'm on cloud 9. These phrases sound lively and colorful, and native speakers use them a lot. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm over the moon. Good. Now, I'm thrilled. Excellent. And one more. I'm on cloud 9. Perfect. For example, when you get good news, like passing an exam or getting a new job, you can say, "I'm over the moon." It sounds so much better than just saying, "I'm happy." Now, one last exercise before we pause. I'll give you a situation, and you choose the advanced phrase. You're feeling extremely happy because you got a promotion. What phrase could you use? That's right. I'm over the moon, or I'm on cloud 9. Very good. Now, your friend makes a polite suggestion you agree with. What phrase could you say? Yes, that makes sense, or I can see where you're coming from. Perfect. And one more. You need help carrying a box upstairs. What could you ask? Exactly. Would you mind helping me? Or could you possibly give me a hand? Excellent work. You're doing so well. The more you practice these phrases, the more natural they'll feel. You'll start using them without thinking, and that's the best way to become fluent. Okay, let's keep going in the next part. Let's keep going, English learners. You're doing a fantastic job so far. And the best thing is, with each new phrase you learn, you're getting closer to sounding like a native speaker. Remember, it's not just about learning new words. It's about knowing how to use them naturally in your daily conversations. And that's exactly what we're doing together right now. Now, let's move on to another set of advanced phrases that you can use when you want to give your opinion. Instead of always saying, I think, you can use phrases like, in my opinion, or as far as I'm concerned, or even, if you ask me. These phrases are perfect for expressing what you feel in a polite, thoughtful, and natural way. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. In my opinion. Good. Now, as far as I'm concerned. Excellent. And one more. If you ask me, great work. Imagine you're talking with your friend about which movie to watch. Instead of saying, I think we should watch a comedy, you can say, in my opinion, a comedy would be perfect tonight. It sounds much smoother and more polite. Now, sometimes you want to say you agree with someone only partially. You don't fully agree, but you also don't completely disagree. In English, native speakers often say things like, I see your point, but, or that's one way to look at it, however, or I agree up to a point, but. These phrases allow you to gently express a different opinion without sounding rude. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I see your point, but. Good. Now, that's one way to look at it, however. Excellent. And one more. I agree up to a point, but. Great job. For example, imagine your friend says, social media is bad for everyone. You can reply, I see your point, but it also has some benefits. It's polite, thoughtful, and keeps the conversation friendly. Okay, let's move to phrases for when you want to suggest doing something together. Instead of always saying, let's go, you can use more advanced expressions like, how about we? Or why don't we? Or shall we? These phrases are wonderful for making polite, friendly suggestions in everyday conversations. Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. How about we grab a coffee? Good. Now, why don't we watch a movie? Excellent. And one more. Shall we go for a walk? Perfect. You can use these phrases when making plans with friends, family, or even colleagues in a relaxed, friendly way. Now, one more important area is expressing gratitude. Yes, you can always say thank you, but advanced English speakers have other beautiful ways to express appreciation. You can say, I really appreciate it, or much obliged, or I'm grateful for. These phrases show deeper, heartfelt gratitude. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I really appreciate it. Good. Now, much obliged. Excellent. And one more. I'm grateful for your help. Wonderful. For example, if someone helps you with your homework, you could say, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. This makes your thanks sound more genuine and warm. Now, sometimes you might need to politely interrupt someone during a conversation. Instead of just saying, "Excuse me," you can say, "Sorry to interrupt, but," or "Can I just jump in here?" or "If I may add something." These phrases are polite, respectful, and keep the conversation comfortable for everyone. Let's practice these. Repeat after me. Sorry to interrupt, but. Good. Now, can I just jump in here? Excellent. And one more. If I may add something? Perfect. Imagine your team is discussing a project, and you have a great idea. You can politely say, "Can I just jump in here? I think we should try a new design." This keeps things respectful and smooth. Let's do another quick practice exercise. I'll give you a situation, and you decide which advanced phrase you could use. Ready? Your friend asks for your opinion on a restaurant. What could you say? That's right. "In my opinion, it's one of the best places in town." Excellent. Now, you half agree with someone, but have a different view too. What would you say? Yes. "I see your point, but," or "I agree up to a point, but." Very good. Now, you want to suggest grabbing lunch together. What could you say? Exactly. "How about we grab some lunch?" Or, "Why don't we get something to eat?" Perfect. And one more. Someone helps you fix your laptop. How could you thank them politely? Yes. "I really appreciate it," or "I'm grateful for your help" would be great choices. Well done. All right. Now let's learn some phrases you can use when you want to show you're interested in what someone is saying. In conversations, it's nice to let people know you're listening and paying attention. Instead of just nodding or saying, "Okay," you can say, "Really?" or "Is that so?" or "Go on." These short phrases keep the conversation lively and show that you care about what the other person is sharing. Let's practice. Repeat after me. Really? Good. Now, is that so? Excellent. And one more. Go on. Wonderful. For example, your friend tells you a funny story, and after the first part, you can say, "Really? What happened next?" It keeps the conversation engaging. Now, let's talk about phrases for when you don't know something. Instead of always saying, "I don't know," you can sound more advanced by saying, "I'm not sure," or "I have no idea," or "I haven't got a clue." These phrases sound more natural in casual conversations. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm not sure. Good. Now, I have no idea. Excellent. And one more. I haven't got a clue. Perfect. For example, if someone asks you who's going to win a football match, you could say, I haven't got a clue. It's anyone's game. It sounds relaxed and native-like. All right, another area where you can use advanced phrases is when you're running late or need to leave a conversation. Instead of just saying, I have to go, you can use phrases like, I'd better get going, or I need to head off, or I'll catch you later. These expressions sound casual, polite, and friendly. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'd better get going. Good. Now, I need to head off. Excellent. And one more. I'll catch you later. Great job. For example, if you're at a party and it's getting late, you can say, I'd better get going. It was nice seeing you. Very natural and polite. Now, another practice round for you. I'll describe a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase to use. Your friend is telling a long, interesting story. What phrase could you say to show you're interested? That's right. Really? Or go on? Good. Now, someone asks you who will win a game, and you don't know. What might you say? Yes. I have no idea, or I haven't got a clue. Excellent. And one more. You're about to leave a gathering. What could you say? Exactly. I'd better get going, or I need to head off. Perfect practice. Wonderful work. You're doing so well keeping up with these advanced phrases. Let's continue practicing together. All right, let's keep the good momentum going. Now, another important situation you often face in daily conversations is when you want to express certainty or strong belief. Instead of simply saying, I'm sure, native speakers often use phrases like, I'm positive, or I'm certain about it, or even without a doubt. These phrases help you sound more confident and convincing in your conversations. Let's practice together. Repeat after me, I'm positive. Good. Now, I'm certain about it. Excellent. And one more. Without a doubt. Perfect. For example, when someone asks you if it's going to rain today, and you've checked the weather app, you can confidently say, I am positive it's going to rain later. It sounds stronger and clearer than just saying, I think so. Now, there are times when you might need to soften bad news or a difficult opinion. Instead of being too direct, you can use polite phrases like, I hate to say this, but, or I'm afraid that, or it might not be what you want to hear, but. These phrases prepare the listener gently and avoid sounding harsh or rude. Let's practice these phrases. Repeat after me. I hate to say this, but. Good. Now, I'm afraid that. Excellent. And one more. It might not be what you want to hear, but. Great job. Imagine a friend asks for your honest opinion on their cooking, and it wasn't good. You could say, I hate to say this, but it was a little too salty for me. It's polite and honest at the same time. Moving on, sometimes you need to ask for clarification when you didn't understand something. Instead of just saying, what? Or can you repeat that? You can say, could you run that by me again? Or, sorry, I didn't catch that. Or, would you mind repeating that? These phrases are polite and very natural in both formal and informal situations. Let's practice. Repeat after me. Could you run that by me again? Good. Now. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Excellent. And one more. Would you mind repeating that? Wonderful. For example, if someone tells you their phone number too quickly, you can politely say, sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again, please? See how easy and kind it sounds? Now, let's look at some phrases for expressing surprise in a positive way. Of course, you can always say, wow, but advanced speakers also use expressions like, that's incredible, or I can't believe it, or that's amazing. These phrases show enthusiasm and excitement naturally. Let's practice. Repeat after me. That's incredible. Good. Now, I can't believe it. Excellent. And one more. That's amazing. Perfect. For example, if your friend tells you they got a promotion, you can say, that's incredible. Congratulations. It makes your response sound warmer and more heartfelt. Now, sometimes in daily life, you might find yourself in a situation where you need to politely disagree with someone instead of just saying, "No, you're wrong," which can sound rude. You can use advanced polite phrases like, "I'm not so sure about that," or "I see it differently," or "I beg to differ." These phrases help you express disagreement while keeping the conversation respectful. Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. "I'm not so sure about that." Good. "Now, I see it differently." Excellent. And one more. "I beg to differ." Wonderful. For example, if someone says, "That movie was terrible," and you actually liked it, you can say, "I see it differently. I thought it was quite good." See how polite and natural that sounds? Okay, let's do a quick practice exercise again. I'll give you a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase you could use. Your friend asks you if you're certain about your answer. What could you say? That's right. "I'm positive," or "without a doubt." Excellent. Now, you didn't hear what someone just said. What phrase might you use? "Yes. Sorry, I didn't catch that." Or, "Could you run that by me again?" Well done. Another one. You hear some wonderful news. What phrase could you use? Exactly. "That's incredible," or "I can't believe it." Very good. And one more. You politely disagree with a friend's opinion. What would you say? "Yes, I see it differently," or "I beg to differ" would be perfect. Great job. Now, let's learn some phrases for when you want to give someone a little warning or reminder. Instead of directly saying, "Be careful," you can use advanced expressions like, "Just a heads up," or "You might want to be careful about," or "It's probably a good idea to." These phrases sound more natural and friendly in everyday conversations. Let's practice. Repeat after me. Just a heads up. Good. Now, you might want to be careful about. Excellent. And one more. It's probably a good idea to. Wonderful. For example, if your friend is about to drive in heavy rain, you could say, "Just a heads up, the roads are really slippery." Very helpful and polite. Now, sometimes you'll want to express relief after a difficult or stressful situation. Instead of always saying, "I'm relieved," you can say, "What a relief," or "Thank goodness," or "That's a load off my mind." These are natural and expressive ways to show you feel better after something worrying is over. Let's practice. Repeat after me. What a relief. Good. Now. Thank goodness. Excellent. And one more. That's a load off my mind. Great job. For example, if you were worried about your test results and you passed, you can happily say, "What a relief. I was so nervous about it." It sounds casual and sincere. Let's do another round of practice exercises. I'll give you the situation, and you pick the advanced phrase you could use. You want to give your friend a gentle warning about bad weather. What could you say? That's right. "Just a heads up, it might rain later." Excellent. Now, you hear your job interview was successful. What phrase could you use to express relief? Yes. What a relief. Or, "Thank goodness." Perfect. Now, someone says something you didn't hear. What phrase would you use? Exactly. Would you mind repeating that? Or could you run that by me again? Great job. And one last one. You disagree politely with someone's comment. What would you say? Correct. I see it differently, or I beg to differ, would work well. Wonderful practice. You're doing really well. And with every phrase you practice, you're building your confidence and natural fluency. Let's keep this energy going as we continue with more phrases shortly. All right, let's keep going, my dear English learners. You've already learned so many useful and advanced phrases. And it's time to add a few more to your daily conversation toolkit. Remember, the goal here is not just to learn phrases, but to practice them in real situations so that they come to you naturally when you speak. Now, let's talk about phrases you can use to give encouragement to someone who's going through a tough time or facing a challenge. Of course, you can always say, "Don't worry," but there are even better, more advanced expressions you can use. Try saying, "Hang in there," or "You'll get through this," or "Stay strong." These phrases are supportive, gentle, and very natural in both personal and professional conversations. Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. Hang in there. Good. Now, you'll get through this. Excellent. And one more. Stay strong. Perfect. For example, if a friend is feeling upset about a problem at work, you can say, "Hang in there. Things will get better soon." It sounds so comforting and sincere. Now, there are times when you want to make a polite suggestion for improvement or correction. Instead of saying, "You should do this," which can sound a little too direct, you can use phrases like, "You might want to consider," or "It would be a good idea to," or "Have you thought about?" These are polite and thoughtful ways to offer advice without offending anyone. Let's practice. Repeat after me. You might want to consider taking a break. Good. Now, it would be a good idea to double-check that report. Excellent. And one more. Have you thought about joining a gym? Great work. See how gentle and polite these suggestions sound? People will appreciate your kindness and thoughtfulness when you speak like this. Okay, moving on. Sometimes you need to express that something is very easy. Instead of always saying, "It's easy," you can say, "It's a piece of cake," or "It's a walk in the park," or "No sweat." These expressions are informal, friendly, and commonly used by native speakers in daily conversations. Let's practice. Repeat after me. It's a piece of cake. Good. Now, it's a walk in the park. Excellent. And one more. No sweat. Wonderful. For example, if someone asks you if you can fix a small computer problem, you can casually say, "Sure, no sweat. I'll handle it in a minute." It sounds relaxed and confident. Now, another set of very useful phrases are those that express indifference, or when something doesn't matter much to you. Instead of just saying, "I don't care," which can sound a little harsh, you can say, "It makes no difference to me," or "I'm easy," or "I'm not fussed." These phrases are polite and very natural in casual conversations. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. It makes no difference to me. Good. Now, I'm easy. Excellent. And one more. I'm not fussed. Perfect. For example, if your friend asks, "Do you want tea or coffee?" and you don't mind either, you can say, "I'm easy. You decide." It's a friendly, easygoing way to answer. All right, let's do a little practice exercise now. I'll give you a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase to use. Your friend is going through a difficult time. What could you say? That's right, hang in there. Or, you'll get through this. Excellent. Now, you want to gently suggest that your friend gets some rest. What phrase could you use? Yes. You might want to consider taking a nap, or it would be a good idea to rest a little. Perfect. Next, your coworker asks if fixing the printer is difficult, and you want to say it's easy. What would you say? Exactly. It's a piece of cake, or no sweat. Very good. And one more. Your friend asks where to eat, and you don't mind. What could you say? That's right. Aim easy, or it makes no difference to me. Great job. Let's move forward now. Another very useful set of phrases are those you can use when you're describing something that's very unlikely to happen. Instead of just saying, it won't happen, you can say, it's a long shot, or chances are slim, or I wouldn't bet on it. These phrases are informal and very common in daily conversations. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. It's a long shot. Good. Now, chances are slim. Excellent. And one more. I wouldn't bet on it. Perfect. For example, if your friend says, maybe I'll win the lottery tonight, you can laugh and say, it's a long shot, but who knows? It sounds playful and natural. Now, sometimes you want to express that you're very busy. Instead of always saying, I'm busy, you can say, I'm swamped, or I'm snowed under, or I've got my hands full. These phrases are casual, expressive, and sound like something a native speaker would naturally say. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm swamped. Good. Now, I'm snowed under. Excellent. And one more. I've got my hands full. Wonderful. For example, if your colleague asks if you can help with a project, and you're already juggling too many tasks, you can say, sorry, I've got my hands full at the moment. It's polite and clear. Now, let's do another round of practice exercises. I'll give you a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase you could use. Your friend tells you he's hoping to win a free car in a contest. What phrase could you say? That's right. It's a long shot, or chances are slim. Excellent. Now, you're extremely busy at work and someone asks for a favor. What might you say? Yes. I'm swamped, or I've got my hands full. Very good. Another one. You're suggesting a friend tries yoga for relaxation? What phrase would you use? Exactly. You might want to consider trying yoga, or it would be a good idea to give yoga a shot. Great job. And one more. Your friend asks you to choose a movie, and you don't mind which one. What could you say? Correct. I'm easy, or it makes no difference to me. Perfect practice. You're doing such a great job keeping up with these phrases. And the more you repeat them out loud, the more natural they'll feel in your conversations. With practice, they'll become second nature to you. That's the wonderful thing about language. The more you use it, the better it flows. All right, let's continue building your advanced phrase bank in the next part. All right, You've made amazing progress so far, my dear learners. And now, let's keep building on what we've learned. Remember, the key to sounding natural in English is not just knowing the vocabulary, but being able to choose the right phrase at the right moment. And these advanced daily life phrases will help you do exactly that. Let's begin with some advanced ways to express excitement when you hear good news, or when something nice happens. Of course, you could say, "That's great," but native speakers often use more expressive phrases like, "I'm over the moon," or "I'm buzzing," or "I'm thrilled to bits." These phrases show happiness and excitement in a much livelier way. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I'm over the moon. Good. Now, I'm buzzing. Excellent. And one more. I'm thrilled to bits. Perfect. For example, if your friend tells you they're getting married, you can say, "Wow, I'm over the moon for you." It makes your happiness sound real and enthusiastic. Now, sometimes you might want to show that something has made you a little sad or disappointed. Instead of always saying, "I'm sad," you can use natural phrases like, "I'm a bit down," or "I'm feeling blue," or "It got me a little low." These phrases are gentle ways to express your feelings without sounding too heavy. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm a bit down. Good. Now, I'm feeling blue. Excellent. And one more. It got me a little low. Wonderful. For example, if you didn't get the job you wanted, you could say, "Yeah, I'm a bit down about it, but I'll try again." See how natural that sounds? Moving on. There are moments when you want to describe something that happened very quickly. Instead of just saying, "It happened quickly," you can use phrases like, "in the blink of an eye," or "before I knew it," or "in no time." These phrases are vivid, common in conversation, and help your storytelling sound more colorful. Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. In the blink of an eye. Good. Now. Before I knew it. Excellent. And one more. In no time. Perfect. For example, if you're telling a story about how your weekend flew by, you can say, "It was over in the blink of an eye." So much more interesting than just saying quickly, isn't it? Now, let's learn a few expressions for when you're talking about avoiding trouble or getting lucky. Instead of saying, "I was lucky," you can say, "I dodged a bullet," or "I got off lightly," or "It was a close call." These phrases are casual, expressive, and very commonly used by native speakers. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I dodged a bullet. Good. Now, I got off lightly. Excellent. And one more. It was a close call. Great job. For example, if you almost missed an important deadline, but managed to submit just in time, you could say, "Wow, that was a close call." Very natural and casual. Let's do a quick speaking exercise now. I'll give you a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase you'd use. Your friend tells you they just got engaged. What phrase could you say to show excitement? That's right. I'm over the moon, or I'm thrilled to bits. Excellent. Now, you missed your bus, but caught the next one immediately. What phrase would you use to describe how quickly it happened? Yes. In no time, or before I knew it. Well done. Another one. You were almost late for a job interview, but arrived just in time. What would you say? Exactly. That was a close call. Or, I dodged a bullet. Great job. And one more. You didn't get the result you hoped for. And you're a little sad. What could you say? Correct. I'm a bit down. Or, it got me a little low. Perfect practice. Now, let's move on to a very useful group of phrases for expressing how easy something is going to be. Instead of always saying, it's easy, you can say, it's a breeze, or it's child's play, or it's as easy as pie. These phrases are fun, informal, and make your English sound much more native-like. Let's practice. Repeat after me. It's a breeze. Good. Now, it's child's play. Excellent. And one more. It's as easy as pie. Wonderful. For example, if someone asks you whether you can solve a small math problem, you can say, sure, it's a breeze. See how casual and confident that sounds? All right. Another helpful set of phrases are those you can use when you're feeling nervous or anxious. Instead of just saying, I'm nervous, you can say, I've got butterflies in my stomach, or I'm on edge, or I'm a bundle of nerves. These are vivid, colorful ways to express your feelings in daily conversation. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I've got butterflies in my stomach. Good. Now, I'm on edge. Excellent. And one more, I'm a bundle of nerves. Perfect. For example, if you're about to give a presentation, you can say, I've got butterflies in my stomach, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Very natural and expressive. Let's practice with some situations again. I'll describe a situation, and you think of the phrase you could use. You're about to attend a big job interview, and you're very nervous. What phrase might you use? That's right. I've got butterflies in my stomach, or I'm a bundle of nerves. Excellent. Now, you find a small task extremely easy. What would you say? Yes. It's a breeze, or it's as easy as pie. Very good. Another one. You got away from a difficult situation without trouble. What phrase could you use? Exactly. I dodged a bullet, or it was a close call. Great. And one more. You're a little down because of disappointing news. What could you say? Correct. I'm a bit down, or feeling blue. Perfect practice. You're doing a wonderful job practicing these phrases with me. The more you say them aloud, the more fluent and natural you'll sound when you use them in daily life. Remember, English is not just a subject. It's a living, breathing language meant to be spoken, shared, and enjoyed. And you're already on the right track. Let's keep this practice going and learn even more useful phrases together shortly. All right, let's wrap up this session with a few more advanced, natural English phrases you can start using in your daily conversations. You've done so well so far, and I'm really proud of your progress. Learning phrases like these will make your English sound polished, casual, and confident. Now, let's learn some polite ways to say no to someone's request, instead of directly saying no, which can sound a bit too harsh sometimes. Native speakers often soften their refusal by saying, I'm afraid I can't, or I'd love to, but I'm tied up, or it's not possible at the moment. These phrases sound gentle and kind, while still getting your point across. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I'm afraid I can't. Good. Now, I'd love to, but I'm tied up. Excellent. And one more. It's not possible at the moment. Perfect. For example, if a colleague invites you to a meeting when you're busy, you could say, I'd love to, but I'm tied up this afternoon. See how polite and natural it sounds? Now, there are times you might want to say something is very expensive. Instead of just saying, it's expensive, you can use advanced phrases like, it costs an arm and a leg, or it's a bit steep, or it's pricey. These phrases are very common in casual daily conversations and make you sound much more fluent. Let's practice. Repeat after me. It costs an arm and a leg. Good. Now, it's a bit steep. Excellent. And one more. It's pricey. Wonderful. For example, if you're talking about the cost of a new phone, you could say, I wanted the latest model, but it costs an arm and a leg. Very natural and expressive. Now, let's cover some phrases for when you want to say something is very good or excellent. Of course, you could say, it's good. But it's much better to use lively expressions like, it's top-notch, or it's first-rate, or it's outstanding. These phrases are often used in reviews, casual chats, and recommendations. Let's practice. Repeat after me. It's top-notch. Good. Now, it's first-rate. Excellent. And one more. It's outstanding. Great job. For example, if someone asks about a new restaurant you tried, you could say, the food there is top-notch. See how impressive it sounds? All right, time for another practice round. I'll give you a situation, and you think of the advanced phrase you'd use. Your friend invites you to an event, but you're too busy. What polite refusal could you say? That's right. I'd love to, but I'm tied up. Or, I'm afraid I can't. Excellent. Now, you want to describe how expensive a hotel room is. What phrase might you use? Yes. It's a bit steep. Or, it costs an arm and a leg. Very good. Another one. You're recommending a movie you really enjoyed. What phrase would you use? Exactly. It's top-notch, or it's outstanding. Great. And one more. Someone asks you to do a task, and you genuinely can't. What could you say? Correct. I'm afraid I can't. Or, it's not possible at the moment. Perfect practice. Now, another useful area is talking about being very tired. Instead of just saying, I'm tired, you can use more native phrases like, I'm worn out, or I'm shattered, or I'm beat. These expressions are friendly, informal, and very common in spoken English. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I'm worn out. Good. Now, I'm shattered. Excellent. And one more. I'm beat. Perfect. For example, if you've had a long day at work, you can say, I'm shattered. I need to rest. It sounds so natural and casual. Next, let's cover a few expressions you can use to say you're very hungry. Instead of simply saying I'm hungry, you could say, I'm starving, or I'm famished, or I could eat a horse. These phrases are vivid and often used in daily life by native speakers. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm starving. Good. Now, I'm famished. Excellent. And one more. I could eat a horse. Wonderful. For example, if you've missed lunch, you might say, "I'm starving, let's grab some food." See how colorful and lively it sounds? All right, let's do a final round of speaking exercises together. I'll describe a situation, and you choose the advanced phrase you could use. You had a very long day, and now you're exhausted. What could you say? That's right. I'm shattered. Or, I'm beat. Excellent. Now you haven't eaten all day. What phrase might you use? Yes, I'm famished. Or, I could eat a horse. Very good. Another one. You're politely turning down an invitation to a party because you have other plans. What phrase would you say? Exactly. I'd love to, but I'm tied up. Or, I'm afraid I can't. Great. And one more. You want to say a new smartphone is too expensive. What could you say? Correct. It costs an arm and a leg. Or, it's a bit steep. Perfect. You've done such a brilliant job today. We've practiced so many advanced English phrases that you can start using right away in your daily conversations, from expressing excitement to politely refusing an offer, from describing something amazing to sharing your feelings naturally. You've covered a wide range of useful, advanced expressions. And remember, practice is everything. The more you use these phrases aloud, the more automatic they'll feel when you're speaking English. I recommend listening to this session again and repeating the phrases several times. That way, they'll stay fresh in your mind and become part of your natural speaking style. Thank you so much for joining me today. You've worked hard and learned a lot. And I'm so proud of the effort you've put into this practice. Keep speaking, keep learning, and keep improving every day. Take care and happy learning.